Being broke isn't just hard, it's expensive, and the less money you have, the more everything costs. That sounds backwards, but for millions of people, it's how the system actually works. It's called the poverty tax, not an official tax, but a pattern of extra costs that only show up when you're short on money. Miss a payment, late fee, account too low, overdraft charge, need cash fast, payday loan with interest that can spiral fast. Even basic things cost more. If you have money, you buy in bulk, cheaper over time. If you don't, you buy smaller amounts, paying more per use. Same product, higher price, just because you have less upfront. Lower income means lower credit. Lower credit means higher interest, which means you pay more for the same life. So the system doesn't just reflect inequality, it quietly charges for it. So here's the question. What happens when two people face the same $500 emergency, but only one of them can actually afford it? Let's make it real. Two people, same emergency, $500, a car repair, a medical bill, something unavoidable. Person A has savings. They pay the $500 and move on. No penalties, no delay. Maybe they miss out on a bit of interest. Total cost, about $500. Now person B, same emergency. No savings, no buffer. So they borrow. $500 from a payday lender. There's a fee, $75. Now they owe $575. But they don't have that either. So time passes. Interest kicks in. Not small interest, high interest. Life doesn't pause. Rent, food, bills keep coming. So paying on time gets harder. Late fee, $50. Now it's $725. Their account drops too low. Overdraft, $35. Now we're past $760. And that's if things don't spiral. But often they do. The loan rolls over. More interest, more fees. That $500 emergency becomes $800, $900, even over $1,000. Same problem, completely different cost. Because one person had money and the other had to pay to access it. That's the poverty tax. Not one charge, a chain reaction, small costs that stack up until they become overwhelming. And once you pay more than you should, you're left with less. Less for savings, less for the next emergency. So when the next problem hits, you do it again. Borrow, pay fees, fall behind. The same $500 emergency can cost 2, 3, even 5 times more. Not because of worse choices, but because every available option is more expensive, and it repeats. And it's not just emergencies. This shows up every day. Start with groceries. If you have money, you buy in bulk. If you don't, you buy what you can afford today. Smaller packs, sachets, single portions. It feels cheaper, but over time, you pay more for the same thing. When you can't afford to buy more, you end up paying more. That's the cost of partial payments. Now look at the financial system. Falling below the minimum, penalty, lower income, higher interest. You're not just paying for a service, you're paying for instability. Banks charge you for not having money, which leaves you with even less. Then comes access. If you have good credit, you get better terms. If you don't, everything costs more. Loans, insurance, even opportunities. No buffer means every mistake hits harder. And then there's time. When you have fewer resources, everything takes longer. Longer commutes, more effort comparing prices, more time stretching what you have, time spent just trying to stay afloat. Poverty doesn't just take your money, it takes your time and your options. And all of this feeds the same loop. Higher daily costs leads to less savings. Less savings leads to more borrowing. More borrowing leads to more fees, again and again. So the system doesn't just charge you in emergencies, it charges you every day, in small ways, until those small costs become the difference between getting ahead and never catching up. At this point, the pattern is clear. So the real question is, who benefits? Because these aren't random, they're consistent, predictable, profitable. Banks earn billions every year. Lenders profit from high interest and late payments. The longer you struggle, the more they earn. Companies price smaller packs higher per unit. Not by accident, because people with less cash will still buy them. Over the years, we don't take it seriously how stability is rewarded. Instability is monetized. If you can pay up front, you pay less. If you don't, every gap becomes a charge. That's the design. Because financially unstable people are more profitable. That extra cost from the $500 emergency, it doesn't disappear. It goes somewhere, into fees, into interest, which means the cost of being broke isn't just a burden, it's income, generated from people who can least afford it, and that changes everything. Because if struggle produces profit, then poverty isn't just managed, it's monetized. The poorer you are, the more valuable you become as a source of fees. So when people say, why don't they just save? Or why don't they make better choices? They're missing the system. Because not everyone starts at zero. Some start with buffers, others start with penalties, and over time, those differences compound, quietly, systematically. So if you've ever felt stuck, like no matter how hard you try, you fall behind, it's not just you. You're navigating a system where having less means paying more. And the deeper question is this: what would it look like if the system didn't profit from scarcity? If stability wasn't a privilege, but a baseline? Because right now, being broke isn't just paying more, it's built into the system. For more stories about money, finance, and business, subscribe to Core Axis, and we'll see you in the next video.